This is Western Spring Television, Osogbo. Between 1 o'clock and 1:45 every Monday, we bring you into your homes men and women who we believe and trust have what it takes to answer pertinent questions that we want to ask them. That is the title of our program. And on this program, we ask salient questions which we have simply described as pertinent. How pertinent they are, you will find out in due course. This afternoon, Osun, as a state, is less than 4 weeks away from a local government election. Therefore, we are setting out this afternoon to take viewers into a discussion, call it an excursion, and if you also want it, we will call it a sensitization process that the viewer at home will utilize to know what he wants to do and what he must do and things like that. In the process also, we will try to find out how prepared the voter is and how prepared also the election management body is to conduct this very all-important local government election. I have in the studio an expert in the conduct of elections here in Nigeria, because he retired about 6 years ago, and for the better part of 30 years, he was into election matters. He retired as a director of INEC, and he has, or rather, the conduct of election has taken him into Osun, Lagos, Ekiti, Oyo, Ogun states, and such others in the past. He retired just about 6 years ago. He's our in-house because he's from this state, and so he must have seen so much. My guest is today a pastor who runs a church in Osogbo. We are not here to talk about church matters, but I must signify that he is a pastor. Pastor Emmanuel, or for the purpose of this program, I'll say Mr. Emmanuel Olufemi Agbola. You're most welcome to Pertinent Questions.
Thank you very much. God bless you, sir.
Thank you. You have been at it, and I said you retired a couple of years ago, some 5 to 6 years ago.
More than 6 years.
More than 6, okay. I wouldn't know, but it means you are also closing on 70. That's just by the way. This production I plan it to be a sensitization process for the viewer at home, for him to know what is expected to know, what is expected to find out on the D-Day when the 22nd of next month comes. It is less than 4 weeks from now. So I will begin with a rather innocuous question. What is an election?
Thank you. And viewers at home, good afternoon. The question is, what is election? Yeah. Election is a process by which the citizens, the eligible voters, make their choice of who will govern them. And when discussing this, we have many candidates and many political parties, but it's up to the electorate, particularly those who are eligible. When we get there, we'll discuss what makes a voter eligible. So to make their choice out of the numerous candidates that are campaigning for votes.
Okay. What then is an election management body?
Election management body is that institution or organization saddled with the responsibility of ensuring the credibility of the process of election. They ensure that there is no hitch so that there wouldn't be any lacuna. Somebody will not say they have shortchanged or they don't allow their votes to count. These are people who are adjudged credible to oversee the management and the processes of election, right from when voters registration is carried out, when the campaigns are done, when the nomination processes are done, up to the day of the election, the very day that the election will take place. And thereafter, winners mark certificate will be issued, and these are some of the key processes.
Okay, what are they guided by? You mentioned you had SADC.
All right, thank you very much. For instance, in Osun State today, we have the legal framework, which is the main tool that guides the conduct of the Electoral Commission. And this legal framework is being put in place by the State House of Assembly. It is out of this that the State Independent Electoral Commission will now form its policies on election management. After the formulation of these policies, they go into what we can regard as policy implantation. Policy implantation is inviting people who are relevant to assist in achieving their goal. They must have set goals so that in an ability to ensure, in a bid to ensure that they are each free, they need to start with the strategic action plan. This is a template that will guide every event, when it starts, how it starts, who does what, at what point, up to the point that they will go into implementation. The implementation is what everybody, all Nigerians will see on 22nd of February. But there are a series of activities before the D-Day, and these are the processes that we discuss.
So there is this why you experts, you call it a process? Well, what is an election? Why is election referred to as a process?
Thank you very much. Election is not a destination, because when you start planning a particular cycle of election, you start with the legal framework. From there, like I discussed, you go into the nitty-gritty of the details of all you need to do to ensure that the day comes and with no hitch. It doesn't stop there. By the time one election is concluded, you don't go and fold your hands and say you want to rest. No, it's a process. You must ensure that you monitor those that have been elected, so that their conduct in tandem with the terms and conditions that set up the electoral management body. And you start planning for the next cycle of election. That is what makes it a process. And it's moving from one to the other. For instance, when you talk about this February 2022 election now, all the people will see is on that day, people will queue, they will take their voters' cards, they will exercise their franchise. But before you get to 22nd of February 2025, there are a lot of water that must have passed under the ground. Take, for instance, the logistics requirements for this election is part of the processes. Procurement of sensitive, non-sensitive materials are there. Advertisement, working with the stakeholders, seeking the cooperation of those that matters, particularly the community leaders, the religious leaders, the market women, because it's like you prepare a food. If there are no people to eat what you have prepared, then it's a wasted effort. So there is the need to carry out voter education, to sensitize, you recruit, you train, you post, deployment of staff. And when these staff are not well grounded, because talking about election, it is not about the OCEC chairman or the commissioners there or even the EOs that will be on the field on election day for eligible voters to cast their vote. They are still engaging another set of ad hoc staff. In Osun, for instance, with 3,763 polling units, we are engaging nothing short of 14,000 personnel for this election. 3 per polling units, and you have your collation officers in all the wards, 332. You have your supervisory presiding officers, 332. You have your ward collation stroke returning officers for the councillorship election, 332. And you also have the local government collation stroke returning officers. So all these people must be trained the document with which to train them is a baby of the election management body.
Okay, which you said the House.
No, it is what makes the body itself to stand is what comes from the State House.
Okay.
The law that it is after that the election management body will now do the rules and regulations.
Okay.
Inferring that from the main body, which is the law of the state.
Okay, thank you. What must an election management body like OSEC, like INEC, like whatever you call it, what must such a body do to ensure that it provides or produces what everybody can call a credible election?
Well, to start with, anybody who will serve in the commission must have very clean hands. Clean hands in the sense that you must not be partisan. Your loyalty,
politically.
Yes, your loyalty must be neutral as an umpire. No political bias. It is not that alone. You must display transparency. You must be credible on your own. You must be open to all and sundry. There is no preferred candidate. All of them are the same. You must create a level playing field for all the aspirants so that nobody will complain of not being fair in your dealings with them. So all this you must put together to ensure that everybody have confidence in you. They have that trust that they don't doubt. Maybe there is a shorty deal somewhere. No. Everybody must be able to assess you, to ask questions, to seek clarifications on gray areas regarding the election. And that is why the issue of meeting with stakeholders, the political parties, and particularly the IPAC, Interagency Party Advisory Committee. You relate with them such that everybody will be on the same page and they will be able to defend your cause when it comes to election management.
What are the steps an individual must take? I know the answer to this question may be late because elections are only a few weeks away, but I should ask it so that people can get prepared in future. What are the steps an individual must take to become an eligible voter?
All right. The law and the regulations provide that, one, you must be a citizen of the particular local government. You cannot come from Lagos to say you want to come and vote in this election. So your voter's card must reflect that you are resident within Osun State. That is number one. You must be above 18 years. Anyone below 18 years is not eligible to partake. You must have been registered, duly registered as by the Independent National Electoral Commission, because it is the register from the Independent National Electoral Commission that the OSEC will be using for the conduct of this election. So all this must be present, and you must have your permanent voter's card. And it's just yours and yours alone, because the election is not allowed that you go there by proxy or you take somebody else's voter's card along with you. No. It is yours and yours alone. So some of these things must be put in place. If you have your PVC with INEC and you have not collected it, then you are not fit for this election. Because anybody who will come out to say he wants to exercise this franchise must be well armed with the necessary documents. That is the PVC. No PVC, no election, according to the rules.
Now, it presupposes, therefore, that there's virtually no difference between a local council election and a national election. All these things are also required.
Well, they are basic requirements. However, you see, the difference between the local government, this coming local government election, and the national elections is just that while the national elections are digital, going towards electronic, it is a bit cumbersome, and maybe because of the time lag and the funding, we are still a bit analog, meaning once you produce your permanent voter's card, there is no beavers to cross-check whether the information there, but at least the permanent voter's card must show your face and your name must be well registered in the voters register to be ticked before you can be eligible to exercise your franchise.
And of course, this locality, the people there should be able to identify you.
Definitely, because you are within. You are within. And it doesn't stop there. This election is a bit more crucial because it is the grassroots election. people there, you have councillorship candidates, numerous of them, and all of them have people that they need to mobilize, to sensitize, to come and vote for them. Likewise, the chairman. So it is the grassroots-based election, and it calls for more participation.
More participation?
Yes. Active participation for that matter.
So do you see, or rather, as an expert, do you see that taking place?
I anticipate.
Have people been sufficiently mobilized?
Well, I want to believe so, because every candidate who has invested in this election must ensure that their investment does not go into the trash. And how do they do it? One, you go out, if in the particular ward you have about 3, 4, 5 councillors, as against a state assembly election where the constituency is maybe a local government, this time around, in every ward, you have more than 3, 4 aspirants seeking for votes. Yeah. So they will definitely go into the houses of eligible voters to mobilize them to ensure that they come and vote for them in order not to lose the election. So there will be a keen competition and the turnout will be higher.
It means, therefore, from what your description, it's much easier even to run for local government election because of the nearness.
Yes.
You're almost everybody within the ward, you know yourselves very well.
Really?
Almost very well.
Almost very well. So, and that goes for both the councillorship as well as the chairmanship election.
On the 22nd of next month, February, who and who must be seen at the polling station or polling booth?
Thank you very much. Primarily on the day of election, the principal people that must be there, one, are poll officials, starting with the presiding officer, and going by the word presiding is the overall boss, more or less the president of that polling unit on that day. And it's been assisted by what we call here poll clerk and the poll orderly. We can refer to those poll clerk and orderly as APO1 and APO2. So 3 per polling unit. They will be there. Aside those 3, we have security personnel to ensure that the environment is safe and conducive for the process. Any other person that will be there must be duly accredited and must wear the accreditation tag given to them by the election management body. And they must not carry anything that will show their sympathy for any political party, because there is no more campaign on that election day. So everybody must conform and abide by the rules under the authority of the presiding officer at that polling unit. We have election monitors, and these are strictly officials of OSEC. No other person can monitor this election. You can only be observers. And what do you mean by observers? You are poll watchers. Observe what is going on, reflect what is going on, but you cannot intervene or interfere in the conduct of the election.
Okay, you cannot interfere.
You cannot.
Okay.
You can only observe.
Okay.
Whatever your observation, take note and report to whatever agency that must have sent you. But you are not allowed to even grant press interview on that day. All you need to do is just watch how the process goes. But the party agents, they are closer to, the poll officials, in that they are marking themselves, watching that the conduct is as regulated. So that there is no deviation from the norm, and they can easily draw attention, but they cannot dictate what should do or should not do, because any attempt to intervene, the presiding officer has the power to order for the arrest of any party agent and be sent away from the police.
From your experience as electoral manager, give us a sense of understanding of what a polling agent can do. You said he could talk.
Yes.
But you were trying to hold on. I want you to expatiate that. Let us know to what extent the young man or young woman can go before he could be asked.
All right. Take, for instance, when you say somebody is a poll agent, is a representative of a political party.
And the candidate.
So is the interest of whoever must have sent him, either the party or the candidate, is uppermost in his heart. But he doesn't have to override the conduct or usurp the functions of the presiding or the poll officials. When you are there, take for instance, on election day, it could have amounted to an inadvertent omission. When you get to the polling unit and you see posters, campaign posters of political parties around that polling unit, it is by law not allowed that the party agent should go and tear. No. The best he could do, which is complementary, is to draw the attention of the presiding officer to the need to remove those posters. So it is the presiding officer that will do. If on his own is overzealous, overbearing, to just go there and remove, and after our campaign is over, whatever happens to him, he faces the music. 2, during the course of accreditation and voting, the law says the presiding officer must ensure that every ballot paper is stamped at the back and signed by the presiding officer. Even if it appears that it's busy or by way of omission, it is the duty. The poll agent can simply draw his attention to an omission. Please note that you have not done that, because failure to do it will make that vote to be a waste vote at the end of the day.
For the entire
voting unit. Yeah. In addition to that, a situation where you see somebody who is an underage, or you notice that somebody has voted somewhere else, you can draw attention of the presiding officer, but not impose your position on him. Just let him know that this is not part of the rule. It is for the presiding officer to now act.
Let's go into the possibility of the presiding officer not acting immediately. What next step can the agent take? The best he could do, having drawn the attention, and since it's not the only one there, if all of them see the error or a misnomer, they can report almost immediately to the higher level. They can cascade the information or escalate, depending on whichever party organ. You escalate to the next appropriate officer of the party. They will report on it. Okay.
It's not as if you can now impose that they must do it. No. Okay. Just let them know it is an error and you are recording it.
We will soon break, but before we do the break, I want you to tell us who and what they are. During election, we read, we hear, and come to know about POs, SPOs, polling clerks, etc., even polling orderly. What are collation officers? What are their functions?
All right. Earlier on, I had mentioned that we have polling officials. Just 3 of them: the presiding officer, the poll clerk, and the poll orderly. The duty of the presiding officer, being the overall boss at that polling unit, is the one to guide how the polling unit is managed and managed effectively. For instance, when it is the close, by assuming the deadline is 2 p.m., it is the presiding officer who will order the poll orderly to go to the back of the last person on the queue, so that there wouldn't be any incursion. Nobody can come in at that 2 o'clock. But those on the queue as at 2 will be allowed to exercise their voting rights. It doesn't stop there. Talking about collation, when you talk about collation starts at the ward level. It doesn't hold at the polling unit level.
Okay.
And collation means you gather results from the various polling units and sum up such that there wouldn't be error in addition of the votes cast for a particular candidate. And there could be mix-up, and that is why they need to be well guided, because 2 separate elections are holding the same time simultaneously, and 2 ballot papers are issued. 2 election results are prepared. OSEC 8A, OSEC 8A1. So when you are doing this, the tabulation must reflect when you are doing your collation, such that you don't place the result of a councillor into that of a chairman. So you do them separately, and when you go up, even to the local government level, at the ward level, you have the collation stroke returning. Because there will be declaration of election results, making a winner at the ward level for councillors. And you do that at that level too when it gets to the local government for the chairman. So meaning you have announcement of results in 3 places on that day. At the polling unit, at the ward level, at the local government level. But you have collation at 2 levels. The collation is at the ward level as well as the local government level. You also have declaration of election results for councillors at the ward level and for the chairman at the local government level.
Well, we are going through hard work with sensitization. We are going through step by step because elections are coming, and we must be well grounded in it, even though we are only going there to be voters. We must know these things. And the teacher who has been teaching us is a renowned electoral matters. He's renowned in electoral matters because he's been director of INEC for many years, having served in so many states of the Federation. Mr. Emmanuel Olufemi Agbola. We will break up the show, go for one thing or the other so that we can sip water and come back to do justice to the concluding phase.
It's a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will be back.
Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on the marches.
Welcome back to Pertinent Questions. The questions we are asking today are essentially on election, because the state is going for a very crucial election in less than 4 weeks from now, precisely the 22nd of February. That's less than 4 weeks. Elections will hold at the local council level. And with me in the studio is an expert in the conduct of elections all over Nigeria, Mr. Emmanuel Olufemi Agbola. Before we went, we were talking. I will still come back to an aspect of that question. But first, in this second half, I want to ask, who are stakeholders in the electoral process?
Thank you very much. As the name implies, those who have a stake in that election are referred to as stakeholders. And stakeholders differ from shareholders.
Okay, explain.
Fine, thank you. A shareholder in any company can afford to invest. If there is a loss, it doesn't bother him because he doesn't lose his job, he doesn't lose his sleep. But when you talk about stakeholders, they have something at stake to lose when that election is not successful. And it means we must have all our hands on deck to ensure the success of this election. And that is why we don't talk about election shareholders, but we are talking about election stakeholders. And talking about these election stakeholders, we also have critical election stakeholders. And the definition of those critical stakeholders in elections are those people who, at the end of the exercise, their conduct in the process can be challenged before a election
Those
petition
are the
tribunal.
critical.
Yes.
So I'm a voter. My conduct cannot be challenged.
If you misbehave on election day, easily the presiding officer can hand you over to the police for prosecution. That's all.
But it's not a challenge.
The conduct of a presiding officer can be challenged at the tribunal.
Okay.
The conduct of OSEC can be challenged at the tribunal.
Okay. That's what makes them critical.
Critical stakeholders.
Okay. Are they the only ones?
No. Of course, you are one too. The media people, because you are reflecting on what transpires on election day. So, but before you can serve that purpose, you must have been duly accredited by the Electoral Commission. It's not just because I'm a pressman, I'm a journalist, I can just go anywhere. No, such is not allowed. Other critical stakeholders in election management, we have our royal fathers, we have traditional rulers, religious leaders. They are all critical stakeholders. We have political parties. Because the political parties can go to court on behalf of what transpired on election day. They can challenge the validity or otherwise of the election process. It is not only the political parties, the candidates themselves, they can rise to the occasion to challenge the conduct or any malpractice during the course of the election. It doesn't stop there. We have the security operatives. They are also very critical to ensure that there is no hitch on election day, because we have political talks who can foment trouble, but when they meet with that force, they will definitely be suppressed. So they are regarded as critical stakeholders when it comes to election matters. So we have the NURTW, the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria. We have the Akomoron. All these people, because they provide services on election day. And should they fail, then there is problem. So to ensure that all of us do the needful, we play our role as expected and as provided by the law. That makes them critical stakeholders. Okay.
Well, virtually everybody is a critical stakeholder except the voter in the entire process.
The thugs who even have no voting rights, but who are hard to foment trouble, you cannot regard them as stakeholders.
You can't regard them?
Of course. Because they don't have... Talks are sponsored to disturb the peace of the process. So you don't regard them as a stakeholder.
Okay, I get your point. Joseph Stalin, one of the early communist leadership that believed in election one way or the other, spoke many years ago and said his fear is in an election or electoral process is not about those who go to vote, but those who count the vote. Is he right? Is he justified?
Well, I don't have any bias, but by my understanding of it, to an extent, because of what we now see as money influence in some places and disgruntled personnel, you can be talking about that. But in an ideal situation, once you cast your vote right, because we must let the people be aware of this. Many a times we have voters who have the right to vote. Actually, they come out to vote, but they don't vote right. And as such, their votes do not count. What do I mean? A situation where you leave your home, you have your permanent voter's card, you get to the polling unit, you are given the ballot paper. By the time you want to exercise your franchise for whatever reason, you thumbprint wrongly. Or some who want the identity to be known so that they can enjoy the sympathy of they believe maybe those ballot papers will go back to the party, they write their names on the ballot paper. So that they will know I voted for. All these things are misnomers and they don't count in election. If you vote and by the time you want to drop your ballot paper, rather than folding your ballot paper vertically and drop in the box, you decide to do it horizontally. The ink will have splashed. And to actually identify which party you have voted for will be difficult. And as such, the presiding officer will not count it as a valid vote. Okay. So we can minimize the number of void votes by casting our votes rightly on election day.
Election is all about the electoral body. 90%.
Really?
Okay. What ethical values or virtues must the electoral body and the umpire and its staff, be they ad hoc or permanent, what must they exude? Take, for instance, OSEC.
Thank you very much. From what the state can see right now, the commission, OSEC in Osun State, from what people can see, from what you can feel, and from what people say, the OSEC is credible sufficiently. But you need to transfer this value to the other ad hoc staff, because if those ad hoc staff do not conduct themselves the way the OSEC has been doing, it will give us, it will mar the process. But when you are talking about values or virtues, one is you must be credible yourself, you must be open, you must be fair to all, you must exercise humility, you respect the right of the voter on that election day. You must be honest, you must do everything to ensure that you are working for the state and not for any individual. And ensuring that the votes cast counts. No manipulation, no influence on election day. Just be transparent. These are some of the virtues that we need to uphold, either as the election management body or by vicarious responsibility or liability, the staff that are working for the commission.
Mr. Agbola, you have given Osun OSEC more than a pass mark in terms of its conduct so far. Well, the way I saw you.
I am sure of what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I'm not disputing it. I am saying you have given them that much. What can you say about the role of money over our electoral process? And has OSEC any means of going past this hurdle?
Right. When you talk about money in voting, more importantly, it is the money does not move from OSEC or from any other agency to OSEC. It is always among the political class. Among the political class. Like talking about vote buying, vote selling on the day of election. OSEC has no money to give to anybody. Just like INEC too. INEC does not distribute money. INEC comes out with ballot papers, election result sheets,
materials,
all the materials needed. But when it comes about money, it is those external influence that come to corrupt the process. And the situation where...
Name them.
The political class. No doubt about it, the political class who want to win at all costs. Whether you like it or not, they believe my party, because I've invested so much, and my party must win. Having that at the back of their mind is a wrong notion. It doesn't help the system. And when you have a presiding officer with already stated very clear mandate, focus on the ballot papers, issue them, stamp, endorse, make sure you enlighten the voter on how to vote and how to vote correctly. Will he leave his seat and be pursuing those who are exchanging money? He cannot. He cannot. So we only need to talk to ourselves. The IPAC, the security agencies, they should be out to assist, to collaborate with the OCEC to ensure that vote buying, vote selling is not allowed on election day. Majority of us can see underage people when we see them. So by the time the security people are there, the fear will be there that these people may arrest. You will see it had happened before when people have not even spoken. The moment the voters see the security personnel, those underage people, they run away. Those who have weapons taken to the polling unit, which is illegal, immediately they realize that the security people are around, they run away. So we need the collaboration of all parties. All hands must be on deck to ensure that we do the needful and do the very best.
Time is not very much with us and for us.
Thank you, sir.
But I want to ask this: one or two ways have an electoral petition tribunal factored into it? Why?
All right. I want to appreciate that question. It's an interesting one. The reason is this. Rather than having an annulment of the election, why won't we prefer, if you have any grievance, rather than taking laws into your hand, killing, maiming, disturbing, burning, of house of properties and whatever, it makes us not well civilized. But if actually you are agitated, you have something that you think should take this process and it does not do it, go and present your case before the petition tribunal and they will look into it. If you are not satisfied with that, the verdict at that level, you can still appeal. As against what we experienced in 1993 during the annulment of the June 12th, who could say anything there? Nobody. Or thereafter, rather than killing and destroying properties and whatever, I think the tribunal, election petition.
A short while ago, you said you made a most categorical statement that the OCEC has done well. Tell me what and what they have done that makes you think, or that make you think they have done very well.
Thank you very much. You see, a situation where the OCEC has successfully carried along the relevant stakeholders. It is not only the political parties. I wouldn't know where it had happened, where majority of the parties in existence in the state are competing in an election.
Are you sure they would? There's still time for them to say, for some of them to say we are backing out. It happened in Osun State.
You see, that is why IPAC 2 is part of the process here. IPAC is a mediator between all these political parties. And when IPAC says you are doing well, you are on the right lane, then I don't think, and that is the advisory council of all these political parties. And from what people can see themselves, this commission is out when it comes to a notice of poll. Let's look at where the notice of poll was given. Enough room that hardly can be challenged in law court. In addressing nomination processes, let's see the way the commission has put it. The training, recruitment of personnel, if it were somewhere else, it would be brothers of the chairman, sister to one commissioner or whatever, will be the ones shortlisted as election personnel.
How do we know it didn't happen?
Thank you very much. Last year, we had it that a portal has been opened that every applicant for this ad hoc job should apply through the net. It's a transparent process. So that if you don't go through the net, how will your name now emerge as an ad hoc personnel? And having done well-grounded sufficiently to ensure that those people appreciate and have a full grasp of what to do on the day of the election.
From your assessment, therefore, 22nd of February election is almost done.
By the special grace of God.
It's almost a deal already accomplished.
Yes.
and there's not likely to be quarreling after it. I mean, going to electoral tribunal and things like that.
Going to the election tribunal is a welcome development. Even when you are planning an election, you should factor that there are some external intervening variables. The unexpected. They want to spray, they can waylay the vehicles taking the materials in some quarters. And that is why we always discuss substantial compliance. In a situation where you have 3,673 polling units in Osun State, if at the end of the day we have 3,000 polling units where elections are successfully conducted without any hitch, please, what is the percentage of 73 compared to 3,600? You will judge them to have done pretty well. There is no perfect election anywhere in the world. But when you must have put in your best and people can see that truly you mean business and you have done the needful, people will give you kudos.
Just as I would like to give you kudos now.
Thank you very much.
Shaking your hand because electoral process, that it is not just a destination, but a process.
Yes.
I can say that we are proud of you.
Thank you very much.
That you come from Osun State. You're a citizen of this state, and you have gone, and you are an authority on electoral process.
Thank you very much, sir.
Some other time, maybe after the election, we would still invite you to let us assess the percentage ratings you have given them. Did OSEC end up ending it or reducing it or even going up the more?
I pray and believe OSEC will have a very high score mark.
To the viewer at home, that's about a convenient spot to draw anchor on today's edition of Pertinent Questions. We have been able to bring to you in a very free-flow manner what it all entails to go through an election. We have come to know that elections are not destinations, they are a process. And the cycle begins and ends, and another